Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Elivaras, and today I bring you another episode of Strategical Analysis in Total War Warhammer, where Goldfish leads the forces of the Dwarfs versus Thomas Garrett leading the Von Karsteins, or the Vampire Counts. Today, a very interesting battle and a showcase, or it ends up being a showcase of the power of the Skyhammer, which is the regiment of renowned Gyrobomber for the Dwarves. Let's get into the comps here as we hop into slow motion. So, again, as I said, we have the Gyrobomber here. We've got the Gyrocopter Brimstone Gun. We have a unit of Rangers, or 2 units of Rangers, hidden off on the sides, but either flank. We have a cannon, not ranked up to anything here. We've got Dragonback Slayers, Regiment of Renowned Slayer unit. We've got the Regiment of Renowned Dwarf Warriors, Warriors of Dragonfire Pass. We've got 2 units of Dwarf Warriors flanking them. We've got the Grumbling Guard, Regiment of Renowned Longbeards with great weapons. Very, very powerful unit as they, essentially in an aura around them, they keep all troops, including themselves, fresh, which is extremely potent since you get some massive deductions of stats as you get more fatigued. The longer the battle goes on, the better that ability is going to be. We're going to have them flanked by a unit of Dwarf Warriors, and then we have 2 Runesmiths. And these Runesmiths, it looks like they do have all 3 runes. No, they don't. They only have 2 runes. He's taken off the rune of Oath and Steel, I believe, because Dwarfs already have plenty of armor. Adding on a little bit more armor isn't really necessary, and especially if the Vampire Counts essentially, why you don't need the rune of Oath and Steel is because, right, Dwarves already have a ton of armor. So the units in the Vampire Count's army that do not have armor piercing are going to be doing jack all anyways. So they're hardly going to be doing any damage. So piling on more armor, I mean, the amount of damage less they're going to be doing is pretty small. And it's not going to affect the armor piercing. The vampires probably in this case, if they're facing dwarves, would want to bring a lot of armor piercing. So the extra armor then is not necessary, or it's not useful at all, since the armor piercing obviously goes through that. We do have Grombrindle, the white dwarf, very, very powerful dwarf lord, very good at packing a good punch. Over on the Von Karstein side, we do have Varix Reavers, Regiment of Renown, Black Knights with lances and barding, and they do have regeneration. We can see 2 units of Skeleton Warriors on either side of 2 units of Zombies for, just a bit of soaking up some damage in the front line, soak up the enemy's initial charge, and present some fodder for the enemy to hopefully fire at rather than your useful units. He has 2 Vargolfs on either flank, unit of Stearnsmen in the very center. Isabella von Karstein leading this army. If I was going to run Isabella, I would want heroes because her Blood Chalice of Bathory can take a hero or her from almost 0 health to full in like 10 seconds. So if I was ever going to bring Isabella with the Chalice, which he does have the Chalice, then I would honestly only bring her if I was going to bring maybe 1 or 2 heroes. We do see the cannon opening up some shots into the Stearnsmen, into the Stearnsmen it looks like. And we also have 3 units of Cairn Rays. Very interesting choice. As they are ethereal, they're going to take 80%. They're going to mitigate 80% of physical damage coming at them. So we're going to see how the Dwarves can deal with that, or if they can deal with that. And then we have the Mortis Engine, regular Mortis Engine in the back. The Regiment of Renown Mortis Engine, that's really only used if for the Chill Aura. That's really its only buff off of the normal Mortis Engine. Against Dwarves, they're not going to have anything fast, so you don't need the Chill Aura. Essentially, you want to use it against a lot of cavalry forces that the enemy has. Now, as we hop into play here, or into slow motion here, main Vampire Count army over here, we've got the Copters moving in. So the Gyrobomber here, the Regiment Skyhammer, Regiment of Renown Gyrobomber, is going to be critical. This looks like essentially the basis of his comp here. He spent a lot of money on these aerial forces, and he is going to have to make them worthwhile. You can see he's kind of moving them forward. There's nothing really you'd want to hit in the early game here, because there's nothing really too closely packed, and you don't want to waste one of your limited supplies of bombs on just a unit of Skeleton Warriors. We'll have to see how he can use those. And then on the flanks here, we do see Varix Reavers moving up and looking to engage on the Dwarf forces. So the thing is, I don't know if I would necessarily bring him through the trees here, because currently as it is, you know, he sees the main dwarf forces here. He sees the gyrocopters. The only thing that's missing are the rangers. There's not much that could be hiding in these trees, and he's taking a long time to move these guys all the way through the trees. It's going to take them a year and a half to get into combat. So we're going to have to see if he can make, how exactly that ends up working out. We do see the cannon firing into the sternsmen. I don't know if, and the zombies. I don't know if that's necessarily the best choice. Maybe it's just because of the range, and these guys are the only ones in range so far. But definitely get that thing firing on either a Vargolf or this Mortis engine as soon as you can, which you see he will do later on in the battle. But early on, I'd say potentially save that ammo for some of the more high-powered units. And we can see he does do that. So now we see the gyrocopter coming in. We're going to see exactly what he can do with it here. Flying over the sternsmen, and a huge Gyrobomber bomb dropped on the sternsmen, taking them to almost 50% health in one bomb. That was ridiculous. 21 kills on the sternsmen. Another one, bam, on the skeleton warriors, dropping them to half health and almost crumbling already. That was crazy. Although not necessarily the bomb he needed dropped on the skeleton warriors. I probably would have dropped it on this huge clump, this huge juicy clump here now. Instead of dropping the skeleton warriors, there's not much value in dropping it on a skeleton warriors unit. It's only 300 gold, and you've only got a few bombs, so you definitely have to use them wisely. I don't know if that was necessarily used wisely there, but definitely very, very high value in taking the sternsman so low with just one bomb. We're going to see the dwarf line here. We do see the cannon and the rangers opening up on this Vargolf over here, and the other unit of rangers opening up on the other Vargolf. So interestingly enough, the Varix Reavers decided they were going to go all the way around here, and then they saw the Rangers, so now they're going to come here, it looks like, and try and take out those Rangers. So the dwarf line here, we can see both lines have clashed, have engaged. Mortis engine in the middle where it needs to be, but currently, you know, we just have Vargolf standing around getting hit. These Vargolfs need to be in the fray. He is moving them, but they're moving quite slowly. The thing about this dwarf comp here, or not the dwarf comp, but the dwarf positioning, is main armies all the way up here. It doesn't matter really if they get flanked or anything, because there's nothing of value or nothing that is susceptible to being flanked. He's got his rangers, great use of the terrain, his rangers all the way on the other side. You know, nothing's really going to be able to clear around that bend, and Varix Reavers all the way on the other side, taking out this unit of rangers. And the cannons back here, there's nothing of the vampire counts that can really get this far back, and they're going to be heavily punished for that. Now, we do see the Gyrobomber up above. We're going to see if we can get any more bombs off. Rangers firing in, but are about to get slaughtered by the Varix Reavers. A huge charge coming in to drop their morale very, very low. See Rangers firing into this Vargolf. Once again, another huge Gyrobomber bomb dropped on the sternsmen. Another one on the Cairn Race, absolutely decimating this Gyrobomber. And another one. Woo-hoo-hoo, boy. 2 units of Cairn Race already pretty much collapsed into crumbling. That was insane. 187 kills on the Gyrobomber. Definitely worth it here. We see the Gyrocopters with brimstone guns firing in on the flank. Vargolf getting hammered by this cannon. Not doing super hot. Now we do see the Rangers routed from the field. Varix Reavers doing short work of them and cleaning up. But now Varix Reavers really needs to get into motion here. What are they going to be doing? Right now there's not much they can do in this main engagement. What they've got to try to do is take out this cannon. Now, they might run into a bit of a problem because they are extremely far away. The cannon is going to be able to hit them from here, or as they get just a little bit closer. So they're either going to need to straighten out their lines. They're probably going to need to straighten out their lines, or else they're going to take a lot of casualties from this cannon. The huge problem was that he spent too long on this side of the map where there's only 1 unit of Rangers, but the cannon's on the other side of the map. Instead of pushing forward so early, especially when you see cannon on this side of the map, what you probably want to do is just hang back out of the cannon's range and pull the Varix Reavers all the way around and get them on the other side where they can actually come and kill the cannon. Get into position with your cavalry. Like, the cannon is so far back here that you could realistically just sit here and allow your troops to get into position, especially when you've got cav that needs to get in position. You want to stall the engagement for as long as possible, so that you can get your forces into position, so you can get your cav where they need to be. And right now, they are definitely not where they need to be. There's a huge distance they need to cross, and they're going to get punished by these cannons and the Rangers over here, which have been spotted as well. But because they're so far away, they're easily going to be able to retarget and absolutely destroy these Varix Reavers, or most likely destroy these Varix Reavers on their way in. We can see the main engagement here. Dwarf Warriors taking a lot of damage. Same with the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass, but they're doing their job. They're holding well. clumped up the enemy forces or the Vampire Count's forces so that the Gyrobomber can get in there. A little bit of a mistake here from the Von Karstein player. He lets his Varix Reavers get a little too close to the engagement, and some of them get held up by these Cairn Wraiths. I mean, it's really no big deal at all just to move a little bit farther out here instead of letting some of your troops get caught up on these, these Dwarf Warriors and these Cairn Wraiths. So now they're going to start moving forward, and you're going to see Goldfish is going to turn the cannon's attention towards Varix Reavers, and we're going to see how that's going to go. They both fire in huge amount of damage, taking down quite a few models there in just 2 shots. Third shot coming in, and you can see they're already at 66% health. 2/3 done, and now they're going to get caught. They don't retarget, or they don't change direction, and they get caught by the Dragonback Slayers, reducing their speed to 47. They're not going to be catching anything at that speed. Dragonback Slayers at 40 are going to be able to probably hold on here. Now, the thing is about this Cav, right, there's a few mistakes here. First mistake, the Cav is too bulked up. They're ranked 4 deep, meaning the cannon can get huge collateral damage and absolutely destroy a lot of these units here. You can see a lot of casualties. 2 shots took out this many. That's way too many. Definitely stretch that line out if you're facing that kind of artillery pressure. Along with this, he didn't have to try and force the gap here. Really, he could have gone around this way. This unit is very, very slow, especially when they don't have the slowing effect on Varix Reavers. They won't be able to catch them. It's only one unit. Just juke around them and then come in, right? Don't try and push through a gap where the Slayers are right there and will be able to catch you. So now, see a few horses after the riders have been killed. This main engagement here, we just see the Skyhammer and the Gyrocopter just firing into this Vargolf and this Mortis Engine. They're getting absolutely obliterated here. Big problem for Vampire Counts on their main front line here is, well, obviously the bombs that destroyed most of their forces, especially their Cairn Wraiths. They got way too blobbed up. They had like, 2 to 3 units piled up on each Dwarf Warrior unit here. Just 2 max, I would say. But definitely, get more flanking around. Don't let your troops clump up so much and get destroyed by a Gyrobomber like that, especially when you see them bring a Gyrobomber and the Regiment of Renown one. Other problem is we have 2 untouched Runesmiths. They're going to be a huge problem. Their runes, Rune of Wrath and Rune of Negation, going to be providing lots and lots of damage resistance, damage nullification, and damage to the enemy with the Rune of Wrath and Rune. We can see the Rune of Wrath and Rune has been popped on the Sternsmen. Sternsmen really the only thing that's going to be holding the line here, and they're not going to be around for long. Mortis Engine sitting in the back line, but they're just getting hammered by the enemy Air Force. Now, there is a kind of a risky run as the Vampire Counts, is that you're going to be unable to deal with air because you have no ranged units unless you bring air yourself. So, I guess if you're playing Dwarves, it would probably be in your best interest to bring a Flying Lord just so you can deal with something like these air units. Because currently, our Von Karstein player here is kind of screwed because even if he did win this main engagement, there's nothing he can do about these air units, right? He's got no ranged. He's got no damage magic because Isabella doesn't have the Lore of Death. She's only got the Lore of Vampires. And no artillery or anything because it's Vampire Count. So there's nothing you can do to these air forces. Definitely you got to be very careful when playing the Vampires. When facing the Dwarves, they have something to deal with these range units or these flying units. Because right now the flying units are absolutely decimating, their large units, the Vampire Count's large units, and there's just nothing they can do about it. One Vargolf has fallen. The second one is on its way, especially as the Runesmith comes in. And see Varix Reavers absolutely decimated by these Dragonback Slayers. Again, another mistake here. Right, they finally get out of range of the Dragonback Slayers, but then they just turn around and essentially enter range again. Pull around. Don't go right through the gap. At this point, you might say it's too little too late, but you can always learn from something like that. Right, even if they weren't at this low health. Right, if you're going out this way, don't just immediately turn around. Make sure that you're pulling all the way around instead of just turning straight around. Now, I'd say this is a little bit of a mistake on Goldfish's part. The Dwarves, because I forgot the Von Karstein's names, so I've just been calling it Von Karstein. So a mistake from the Dwarfs here, led by Goldfish. The cannons, they were aiming this way, killing the Reavers, and then they turned this way, and essentially they spent a lot of time on the turn. As the Varix Reavers were moving this way, the cannons aim this way, and they have to aim it that way, and they have to aim it that way, and aim it that way, and a lot of time is wasted. I would say just keep the cannons. Like, Varix Reavers was already on low health after they took a ton of damage from the initial cannon shots and the Dragonback Slayers. Just keep the cannons firing the large units here. Keep them firing on the Vargolf. Keep them firing on the Mortis Engine. Keep them firing on the stuff down here, because there's not really much of a need to be spending all that time turning and turning and turning and turning on the Varix Reavers that are essentially already destroyed. You can see their movement towards the cannons were canceled because the Dragonback Slayers caught most of their units, and they're going to be dead quite shortly. Well, they already are dead, but they're going to be re-dead. Gyrocopters and Brimstone Guns have used up all their ammo. Going to see what they end up doing here. Probably going to try and go for a rear charge. Definitely the best option here. Oh, they're dropping some bombs. That's what I see. So the cannons do retarget. Definitely a good idea there. And we can see Mortis Engine is down. Not in the Vampire Count's favor. Really, the only thing they have left is Isabella, who's not going to hold it very well. She does have the highest melee defense in the game for a Lord or a Hero. But of all Lords and Heroes. But against Grombrindle, 2 Runesmiths, and the rest of the Dwarf army, whew, she's not going to be holding out for very long. See, Gyrocopters entering melee combat. Really, now it's only Isabella and the Sternsman. The rest of the units have already been essentially destroyed. And now that the cavalry has been dealt with, the Dwarfs have free reign of their backline and can send the Dragonback Slayers in. And even if, Isabella somehow miraculously survived and managed to kill the Lord, or kill these Runesmiths, I don't know if Isabella would be able to finish off the Dragonback Slayers essentially on her own. Really, the only staple here is the Sternsman, but sadly, I don't think there's any way that the Von Karsteins can come back from this. All they've got is some raised dead magic left. All they have is a Sternsman and Isabella, as I've said before. It's not much they can do, especially against all this range pressure. The cannons, this was a ton of ammo. Now, I'd say it's a little bit of a mistake here from Goldfish. We can see, he's firing the cannons in, but there's no large units here, right? So there's nothing the cannons are really going to be able to easily hit, which essentially means they're firing into their own units. Like, they're firing at Isabella right now, but you can see they just routed their own Skyhammer and did a lot of damage to the Gyrocopters because these things are firing, and really the huge units here are the Gyrocopters, right? So they miss Isabella. Since she's on the ground, there's essentially no way the cannons can actually hit her without friendly firing. So I'd say definitely a mistake here on Goldfish's part, keeping the cannons firing, because the only thing he's doing here is killing his own units. There's no way he can hit units as small as Isabella when she's not mounted. So it looks like he might have stopped firing now. Yes, he has stopped firing, so he did catch up on that, it looks like, after his gyro bomber almost started routing. And that is going to be a full disintegration of the rest of the Von Karsteins. And that is going to seal the deal. Alright, so taking a look at the stats here. And see, Gyrobomber did very, very well. We saw some huge high-value bombs. I would say the one wasted bomb was probably the one against the Skeleton Warriors. You don't need to kill a 300 gold unit, waste a bomb on a 300 gold unit. Did a lot of damage, but, they could have been better used on that blob that showed up a few seconds later. Very interesting bringing the Cairn Wraiths. The only problem with bringing the Cairn Wraiths, right, they are armor-piercing, they are ethereal, but Cairn Wraiths aren't very good in comparison to something like Graveguard. Like, they cost around the same, actually a little bit more, I think. They have worse stats by comparison. The only thing they have going for them is they are ethereal, right? So they're going to take, and they have armor piercing, but personally, because of their reduced stats, because they aren't very good, I would have instead just grabbed Graveguard with great weapons. They'll do way more damage. They'll hold out for way longer. And the other problem from the Von Karstein, or from Thomas Garrich here, is that he's got a ton of large units, but not much to protect them, right? He's got a Mortis Engine, he's got 2 Vargolfs, a lot of large units that can be susceptible to enemy ranged fire and artillery fire, but all he's got is Varix Reavers. So the only way that Thomas here is going to be able to protect his large units against something like artillery and range units is if he's got extremely good micro in this one unit of Varix Reavers, which he did not have there. So in that case, in the case of not as good micro, if you know you don't have very good micro and you bring in all these large units, you're going to need way more to protect them from ranged fire. You're going to need at least 2 cavalry units, something in case one gets caught like we did see in the battle. I think that's just about going to wrap it up for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Strategical Analysis. Again, any and all feedback is appreciated in the comment section below. And yeah, if you liked the video, feel free to like. If you disliked, feel free to dislike. Feedback, again, would be great if you do dislike it. Tell me why. I'd like to know what I can do to improve. And If you like my content, if you'd like to support me, feel free to subscribe because that would be great and help me grow this channel and bring you guys even more content. So, to end it off, I would like to thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Cheers, guys.